look long and spindly, and they look more like a part to a clarinet, or um, there's one that looks a little bit like a rocket with the bottom part and the narrow part going straight up, um, and they're huge. And I've actually have a diagram in there where it shows the size of the sun in proportion to the planets. And Jupiter is the largest planet, and then Earth looks just like a dot compared to the sun. And some of these objects are bigger than Jupiter. So we are talking humongous grandmother ships or great grandfather ships that are appearing around the sun. And these pictures are quite phenomenal.
Well, I know that when I scroll through your archives, I go down so many rabbit holes.
I know you forget where you were,
I
right?
know. And I'm just going to warn people that once you start looking through these archives, you're going to need a little time because everything leads to something else. The research backing all of this up is impeccable. And as she said, she's been a investigative journalist. She knows how to do the work, and you do it. You do a great job with it. So,
Well, for people who haven't seen the website, when most people hear the word research, they think of these big fat books with lots and lots of gray type. And we really, really try to avoid that kind of imagery on the
yes.
website. There are photos and maps and all sorts of graphics. Very seldom, except when we first started the website, very seldom do you find something that doesn't have visuals to go with it. And I also try really hard to write things in a very condensed form because people they don't have the time to or energy or inclination to read through lots of what I call gray pages of information. And scholarly people too often know so much that they cut off a large portion of an audience that would be interested in what they're doing if they could just present it in an easier fashion.
I would
And
agree.
and that's one of the things I did with my book that's totally different. It's called Tangible Evidence of Jesus Left Behind for Us to Find. And it's based on scientific and archaeological information that's been discovered regarding Jesus. And that is a perfect example of where I've had to wade through the big gray research books by the professors and the researchers and then try to get the essence of it in a really easy to read form because the information is fascinating if you don't get strangled by too much verbiage.
That's an absolute fact. I know that even with the interest levels that I hold sometimes as I'm going through what should be easy reading books or relatively comfortable reading, I, I get bogged down because the writers are going down rabbit holes too. And, or they just feel like they have to present every bit of evidence that they've ever seen or heard of. And it's okay. You know, if you'll put a footnote there, I will go and do the research if I need to. It's okay to do that. Yours is very simple, not simple, but very easy reading. The links that you provide are the passageways into the rabbit holes.
If you
And
want to,
if you want to go further, I usually
and the
want to go further.
and the one thing I do, which is not newspaper style, I'm sure editors that I've had in my ancient past would be appalled, but I will boldface keywords throughout an article so
Yes.
that even the people who are quick skimmers of information will at least be able to garner something from it.
And that works.
For me, it does. I think it's very helpful.
Well, I want to move into, I'm going to save Phyllis's topic for the top of the second hour because that could take the whole hour.
Okay.
And I can't wait to hear your new experiences. But I am interested, I think I mentioned this to you when we were planning some different topics on the show. The last time we spoke, Antarctica was a big thing. there was activity. All these heads of state were scurrying down there. There were bases being built by Lockheed Martin to do their work. And I actually went on the Lockheed Martin website about employment in Antarctica, and their rules of employment included that you weren't going to be utilizing like cellular service or satellite service, that you would be sending your communications through their equipment and things of that nature. Have you heard anything recent coming out of there?
I don't remember everything that we covered when you and I talked about Antarctica. Did we get into the volcanoes and the underground caverns? Did we get into any of that?
The only thing that we got into relevant to a cavern was the super wide tunnel entrance that you got a shot of, and then those Google coordinates were masked.
Okay.
Later
All right.
dates.
One of the things that I should mention is that, first of all, if anybody's really interested in Antarctica, on the homepage we have a search bar, and if you just type in Antarctica, I suspect that you'll get a whole list of the different kinds of things that we've done. The most recent things are all going to be in global links for 2017, 2018. And I also have some in our section called Undercover Operations. But again, if you type in Antarctica in the search bar, you'll start to get a list of these things. We present information that makes it very convincing that the Nazis did not exactly lose the long-term battle. And even before the end of World War II, they were hauling their stuff off to Antarctica. And believe it or not, the most active volcanic region in the world is in Antarctica. And in 2017, Edinburgh University announced that they had found 91 previously unknown volcanoes, making the total 138 in the western part of Antarctica. Well, they have the ability to see what's beneath the ice, and you can see where there's rivers and things like that right beneath the ice. And so during the time of World War II, their U-2 boats were able to go right into these rivers beneath the ice, and there are caverns that have been converted to underground facilities, and they were first developed by the reptilians. So the Nazis, not being the nicest of people, teamed up with the reptilians, not being the nicest of ETs, and they were doing a collaborative efforts. A lot of the information I got on that came from Bill or William Tompkins, and during World War II, he was a U.S. Navy intelligence officer who got into the deep stuff. And then he went on to work at the highest levels at NASA with, people like Wernher von Braun. The man is very knowledgeable, and I can't think of the title of his book right now, but if you want to get into some heavy-duty stuff, you can type in his name, I'm sure, with Amazon and come up with the book title, which at the moment I can't do. But it's quite amazing what was going on way back then. And of course, since then, there's been stories on the History Channel about, Hitler surviving in, South America and
Yes.
going on to Antarctica. So that would be something I don't think that you and I discussed before. And let me move on here a second here on my own screen, see if I can be more helpful to you.
Well,
Okay, in 2018, under Global Links, we have a new entrance that we didn't have when you and I talked before. And this one is kind of like, it's a hole into Antarctica, but it looks like a fat mushroom. In other words, the top part is wider than the bottom part, which is, just think of a fat mushroom.
right.
And the top part is 115 feet across, no, 149 feet across. The lower part's 149 feet, and it's 71 feet in height. And it always helps to put this in some kind of a visual. And an A320 Airbus has a wingspan of 117 feet. So if the bottom part or the top part of this is 149 feet, it could easily go in there. So we're talking a major entrance. And I know that's one since you and I last talked.
Yes, it is.
And
I'm looking at that too. So
okay, and you'll see things. I say they look like badminton cocks, but I think it looks more like a runway that's lit up, and it goes right to this entrance. And that's kind of the way I see it when I look at the photos. And if people want to look at it, we have the pictures on the website in, as I described already, but we have the coordinates. So anybody who's technical with a computer can open up Google Earth and find these images for themselves. They don't have to, trust what you're seeing on our pages. There is so much false information put out by people who get their kicks out of creating things in Photoshop. And so people find it very comforting if they can use the coordinates themselves and find these things for themselves and know that nobody has tampered with it.
I just find that fascinating. I like also that you have the video from the man who first reported this.
And he gets the credit. If he hadn't done that, I would not have known about it.
Exactly. And, people, it's not that difficult to use the satellite imagery to go and just check something out. I like looking at deserts because they're always changing. So looking at something like this, it's really weird because when you reported the coordinates of the first entrance that you showed.
Yeah, a short time after that, they covered it up. It ceased to be available to the public. And then we got real smart and we started looking at the images of past satellite pictures and were able to link it together. And we found one of the entrances that had been covered up. And when we kept clicking on it, there was a static picture there, which didn't used to be the case, which made me reach the conclusion or semi-conclusion that there was still activity at that entrance and they didn't want people to be able to see it.
I just love this stuff. I love your work. But we're up against a 2-minute break.
All right.
So, guys, we will be right back. Y'all enjoy this and catch you on the flip side.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio.
Okay,
Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.